Don't worry. You have always written before, and you will write now. All you have to do is just to write one true sentence, and then go from there. It was easy then, because there was always one true sentence that I knew or had seen or had heard someone else. The quote by Ernest Hemingway. Hello everybody, I am Solveiga Sušinskienė, an English language teacher at Šiauliai University. Today I am going to speak about the challenges of academic writing. First, I will overview the essence of this subject, then do some revision of opinion essays. Why opinion essays? Because opinion essays are written during final exams. Well, do you know what is this? Yeah, you can guess, or maybe you are quite right. This is the coffee shop in Edinburgh, where Rowling started writing the Harry Potter books. She met the challenge of writing here, and we meet the challenge of academic writing everywhere. Firstly, at school. Well, what is academic writing? How it is different from ordinary writing? So, ordinary writing is the kind you read for fun. It seeks to delight. Academic writing has one ambiguous thing, one ambiguous mission. Yes, it is supposed to be dry, but also clever, faceless, but also persuasive, clear, but also complete. Well, what are the types of academic writing? So, there are lots of types, I suppose, but the most conventional, the most popular are as follows. So, we can write books, we can write book reports, we can write translations, essays, research paper, conference paper, academic journal, dissertation, abstract. Well, today, during such short time, it will be impossible to cope with all these types. That's why we concentrate only on essays. What you have to do at school. Well, academic. So, academic writing and research may be naughty, strange, remote, insular, technical, specialized, forbidding, and even clannish. That's why I invite you to meet the challenge of academic writing together. Oh, do you know what does the word essay mean? The word comes from the French language essai, so which means an attempt. What to attempt? So you have to try to persuade someone to your opinion on a subject. So academic writing has deep roots in history. So it was started with famous philosopher Aristotle and his rhetoric, about his word, about the persuasive power of words he discussed. And he discussed, can you imagine, even 350 before Christ. And he introduced these three strange terms as logos, pathos, ethos. So what do those strange words mean? Yeah. Now, logos. So what is logos? It's a Greek word. It's an opinion, expectation, word, speech. You have to rely, and you can rely on reliable evidence such as facts, definitions, statistics, other data that appeals to the logic and intelligence of the audience. Next is pathos. It represents an appeal to the emotions of the audience. And how to achieve this? My suggestion is simply use strong adjectives. In this way, you will be able to induce particular state of mind, such as anger, understanding, sympathy, or tolerance. And the last one is ethos. So it's again, of course, Greek word, which means character, that is used to describe the guiding beliefs, ideas that characterize a community, nation, ideology. Well, so you see Aristotle's model of persuasion. So they are linked, they are coherent with each other, yes? An essay has to be persuasive and keep with Aristotle's provided model. Well, academic writing is fairly formal, impersonal. The main emphasis is generally on the argument you want to put forward or the information you want to convey, rather than the writer personally. After some historical ideas, let's move closer to the writing which is done at schools. So let's revise the most important factors necessary for academic writing. Well, there are three types of argumentative essays which have to be coped during your study years. So, as you see in the slide, argumentative essays are divided into three parts. They are advantages, disadvantages, opinions when you have to express opinions, and providing solutions. So, if to talk in detail, the first type is advantages and disadvantages. Such essays are divided into 4 paragraphs. Of course, paragraph 1 is introduction, where you have to state topic, to state your clear idea. Paragraph 2, where you have to present advantages, arguments for. Paragraph 3, disadvantages, arguments against. And final paragraph, which gives balanced consideration on your opinion, but without using personal words and expressions. This is the most important factor in writing essay on advantages and disadvantages. Well, next and the most popular is expressing your opinions, what you are doing just right now probably, preparing for your final English exams. Again, such kind of essays are divided into 4 paragraphs. Paragraph 1, introduction, state your opinion. Paragraph 2, argument 1, reason, several reasons, examples, personal examples, consequences. Paragraph 3, argument 2 and reason, with your examples, with your justifications. And final paragraph, where you have to restate your opinion using different words. Well, what concerns this essay? It might be composed of 5 paragraphs as well. When writing an argumentative essay expressing opinion, you may include the opposite point of view, other people's opinion, in a separate paragraph before the conclusion. And finally, providing solutions. Again, as you see, 4 paragraphs. Paragraph 1, introduction, where you state problem. Paragraph 2, suggestion 1 and reason why you suggest. Paragraph 3, suggestion 2 and reason why you suggest. And final paragraph, summarize opinion and give the best suggestion and, of course, reason. All in all these 3 types have something in common. So academic essay in English follows specific conventional structure as introduction, body, and conclusion. As 3 milestones on which you have to step writing any piece of academic writing: advantages, disadvantages, opinion essay, and essay providing solution. Now again, that's all history, but not Aristotelian history. English final exams started in 2003. And looking at these topics, we can generalize the types of some essays which students had to write. As you see, in 2003, students had to choose between 2 topics in the area of advantages and disadvantages. Now, for example, 2007, well, students had to express their opinion. Quite authentic, quite interesting essay. Title of essay was produced in 2008, where students had to describe the place I like to go to. The list continues. As you see, again, some essays belong to the type of providing solution, providing opinion, but no advantages and disadvantages. And well, 2016, what challenge we will have to meet this year? No one knows. So, a good essay, what? First of all, informs. What else? And entertains. What else? A good essay demonstrates clarity, that is, a piece of writing, argument, etc., its quality being expressed clearly. Unity, yes, the quality of having matching parts. Conciseness, short with unnecessary words, brief. Coherence, short with unnecessary words, brief. And emphasis, yes, what you want to emphasize, your special attention, importance that is given to word or phrase. Usually it's very difficult to start writing and to finish writing. The introduction to an essay is very important. It's the first paragraph that should grab the reader's attention. Introduction paragraphs are usually about 5% of your essay word count. In clearly written sentences, the writer gives some background on the main topic, explains the problem, and tells the reader what to expect in the rest of the essay. Conclusion paragraphs are about 5% of your essay word count again. In clearly written sentences, you restate the thesis from your introduction, but do not repeat the introduction too closely. Make a brief summary of your evidence and finish with some short judgment about the topic. Well, what suggestions I might provide in order to grab readers' attention and make them want to continue reading? So, the first paragraph may state an opinion, make reference to a strange scene or situation, address the reader directly, start with a quotation, rhetorical question. Now, what is rhetorical question? Question to which no answer is expected. And start with a problem that needs a solution. The last paragraph, again, so much is at stake in writing a conclusion. This is, after all, your last possibility to persuade your readers to your point of view, to impress yourself upon them as a writer and thinker, and the impression you can create in your conclusion will shape the impression that stays with your readers after they finish the essay. The end of an essay should therefore convey a sense of completeness and closure, as well as a sense of the lingering possibilities of the topic, its larger meaning, its implications. And the final paragraph should close the discussion without closing it off. So the last paragraph also may state personal opinion, give the reader something to consider, think over, summarize the composition, and end with quotation or rhetorical question. Rhetorical question which doesn't need any answer. Well, also I'd like to talk about some techniques, how to write, how to make your essay cohesive. So, good linking between sentences is essential for successful writing. Linking expressions act as signposts, helping to make the organization of ideas clear to the reader. They are very frequent in academic writing, and this reflects one of the main functions, to present and support arguments. Ideas can be linked within a sentence using expressions like and, but, in spite of, or between sentences using expressions like in addition or as a result. So, linking devices, transitions, cohesive devices might be, well, grouped into several categories as linking devices of addition, cause, result, contrast, concession, purpose, and time. Well, I'd like to point out a few cohesive devices here as furthermore and moreover, because be careful when using the expressions like these, furthermore, moreover. Nevertheless, they are very formal and are used particularly to add force to an argument. Don't use them in neutral description. Here you see the example. Yes, the first is formal, the second is semi-formal. If you want to make your essay formal, so use moreover, furthermore. But to sound more natural, it's enough to use the word moreover. And as you see in the second example, the sentence sounds more natural. What else to avoid? Informal and academic writing, informal and academic English, it's best to avoid phrasal verbs when formal alternatives are available. So what else? Informal words and expressions. Also you have to avoid, for example, as stains, down, tele. Also try to avoid abbreviations, contractions, phrasal verbs, yes, but if they don't have formal alternative, nothing can be done. You have to use them. And overuse of pronoun I and the phrases such as I think, in my opinion. What about passive? Passive forms, it is calculated, occur in 25% of all verb phrases in academic English, reflecting the focus of actions and processes rather than on agents. Passives avoid the need to use general words like people or someone when the identity of the agent isn't known or isn't important. Again, you can compare two examples. In the first, people use the North Star as navigation aid. Yeah, people. What people? Who? So it's advisable to use passive voice. The North Star was used, formal English. The same can be said about the second example. Researchers repeat the tests a year later. Surnames, names, who? Yeah, to avoid this, the tests were repeated. Well, I suppose every one of us recognizes here what we're doing here. Yes, there may be as many reasons for not starting as there are writers facing a persistently blank page. But I think for a lot of us, the hang-up is anxiety about setting off on the wrong path. Maybe you have an idea for a story, maybe it's a great idea, and before you actually start to write that story, the possibilities are endless and the idea remains great. But once you start, once you set out on a particular path with particular ideas and situations, suddenly the possibilities aren't so endless. And now I'd like to talk about writing process. Writing process also has some definite stages. As you see, it consists of pre-writing, when you have to generate ideas. Then you have plan your essay and write first draft. Then after first draft, you have to edit, proofread, and at last it's submission of your essay. It's publication of your essay. Now about pre-writing, how to generate those ideas. What does this mean? It means that you have to find something to write about, understand, generate ideas, research, read, discuss with teachers, friends. And what are the methods? As brainstorming, which is very popular, free writing, or personal journal writing. And of course, writing is not isolated. All three parts are closely connected with each other. In order to write, you have to read. In order to talk, you have to write, and so on. Free writing. What does this mean? You sit at the desk, make a cup of tea, set up your time, and start writing without stopping. Try to write for about 5 minutes. Write complete thoughts, sentences, but without stopping. It's private writing, no one will read it. Write about a topic or subtopic. It's like brainstorming sentences. Structures, coherence, grammar, punctuation is not required at this stage. Then about planning. Planning is necessary for clarification, focusing, organization of your ideas. And what are the methods of planning? It's simply listing, as graphic organizers, mind mapping, clustering, or outline view. Now, mind mapping. Why it is necessary, why it is useful. Doing mind mapping, you break down big themes into smaller ones, and you explore related themes or topics. So you see example of mind map. Imagine that you have to write a topic on health, so you can mind map and divide this large topic into several paragraphs, into several parts. So as you can write about sleep, stress, exercise, health, diet. If you go into more detail, health, yes, you can divide this topic into doctor, dietitian, nutrition, and so on. So what is a mind map? Mind map is a diagram used to visualize, organize information. A mind map is often created around a single concept, drawn as an image in the center of a blank page, to which associated representations of ideas such as images, words, and parts of words are added. Major ideas are connected directly to the central concept, and other ideas branch out from those, as you see in this example. Well, writing probably larger pieces of writing, you have again to apply some definite techniques, elements of writing. So there are three, the most popular, of course. You have to summarize, you have to paraphrase, and you can synthesize your ideas. So summarize, yes. What does this mean? You have to express the most important facts or ideas about something or someone in a short and clear form. So visually it looks like this. Paraphrase. What is this? You paraphrase. It is a restatement of the meaning of a text or passage using other words. The volume remains the same, 50-50. You use different words, different grammar structures only. Synthesize. You put around several sources and write one thing to make something by combining different things. Imagine, again, you're sitting at the desk, you put around yourself books, papers, journals, and from loads of sources, you have to write one piece of writing. Yes, this is what is awaiting for you in higher education institutions. And the last stage in the writing process is editing, when you have to edit yourself to look for grammar mistakes, punctuation mistakes. You have to proofread for spelling, punctuation mistakes, correction mistakes, and correct grammatical word usage mistakes, reward sentences for clarity, conciseness, eliminate repetition, and be sure that you have consistent style proper for academic writing. Now, what are the traits of good writing? You have to pay attention to verb tenses and verb agreements, tense range, sentence structure, word order, spelling, punctuation. You have to pay attention to ideas that are interesting and important in your writing. Organization that is logical and effective. Voice that is individual and effective again. Word choice that is specific and memorable. Sentence fluency that is smooth and musical. and conventions that are correct and, of course, communicative. Now, to put everything in a nutshell, read the question very carefully, underline keywords, key phrases, think for a couple of minutes, what are you going to write about? Be sure that your answer is relevant to this. Consider your personal view on the topic. Do you agree, disagree, or have an impartial view? This is very important before starting writing opinion essay. Take a minute, 2 minutes to plan what you are going to say, what are you going to write in order to answer. Think of the main idea you will include in each paragraph. Then think about some supporting points. Think about examples, personal examples. Again, before you start writing, think about how you will introduce the topic. Don't copy the question. Include some arguments that are relevant to your own society, your personal experience. Don't write about what you don't understand. And clearly state your conclusion. Make sure that you address the question. Read through your answer when you have finished and check grammar, spelling, punctuation. Check that you have linked your points together well. Yes, be sure that you are using transitions, linking devices. And make sure you have written enough words, what is usually very tiring because you have to count the usage of words. Yes, you will not be penalized for writing more than 180 words, but you will not gain extra marks either. Well, good luck with your academic writing and final exams. If you have any questions, don't hesitate and contact me.